Conversation is art. Art. Conversation is art. Conversation is art. You should chime in. Ain't no telling what to spark on the Val show. Ain't no telling the Val show. You know, ain't no telling where we go on the Val show. Ain't no ceiling, cause the art of conversation is the flow. It's that creativity available when we speak, available in our homes, available in the streets. We just trying to get it sparking and take it a little deeper. Keep it casual while fireside chatting with our people. Yeah, we take it a little deeper. It get hot when we fireside chatting with our people. Cause conversation is art. Conversation is art. You should chime in. Ain't no telling what'll spark on the Val. The Val and Val show. The Val and Val show.
Woo! What's up? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Don't be trying to show out. Don't be trying to show out.
Yeah. Terrell in the house. Thank you, my brother. You got me hooked up, boy.
Hey, y'all, he excited. He excited.
Yes, terribly so. I'm working with 3 computers because Terrell has hooked me up. That's a bad boy, y'all. If y'all want some computer stuff done, hit Terrell up. Give him that number, Val.
What?
Terrell's number.
I ain't finna put that out there on the
I'll give it to you.
Look, he ain't like you. Look, you gotta send me a message.
Inbox Valerie, y'all. Inbox
Yeah.
Val.
Or either contact Val to direct him.
Yeah, he hooked me up. He hooked me up big time, guys.
Yeah. So what y'all been doing?
We operating on a split screen.
Tell me about it. Look, look, y'all. He called me to I got 2 screens. He was like a kid.
Yeah. 2 monitors up in this camp now, Chief.
For real,
so, guys,
for real.
We are so glad to be with you all tonight. You know, it's been a long time coming. She said she need a Google number. He need a Google number. All right, thank you, Rita. Terrell, we finna hook you up, boy. You finna be busy. But y'all, we have missed you. We took a week off last week due to I think the beginning of World Games. And I'm thankful that I've had an opportunity to play a small role in that. And but we're back now. So we want to talk to you all a little bit about some things that may be concerning you and on your heart. So feel free to call in. Well, actually, you can't call in. You gotta text in. That reminds me of a joke. So there's this guy. He's a comedian. He had a church, and he said, I want to give y'all a message. He said, if you realize Luke is not from New Jersey, and then he's talking about if this message has been a blessing to you, write me a check. No, don't write it. Don't send it to me because you got to call me and I'll come pick it up because I ain't got no church right now. So that's sort of like how we are. We don't have a phone line that you can call in, but you can certainly send us a text message. So anyway,
look, I remember when he was on Facebook. That was so funny. During the pandemic, he was hilarious.
You need to pull it up and see if you can play it.
I'm telling you. Look, y'all, we had to get connected so we could hear, so they could hear me. I was low. We got connected, and now we don't lost Dr. Coleman.
Oh Lord, he's gone. Oh my goodness.
He said he trying to get back on. So look, y'all. The devil don't want y'all to hear about this anxiety because this is a redo for sure.
Yeah.
Because we had technical difficulties last time. So hopefully he will be logging back on here shortly. But look, I'm going to give some of the stats information so you all can have that already. And you all be sure to like and share our page as well as share these videos because y'all, this information we're doing on mental health is really, really needed. And we want to say, let you all know that it is Minority Mental Health Month in July. So you all know we've had Will of Grace counselors on here, and they are actually going around to churches on Sundays doing like a mental health fair to let you know about that.
That's awesome.
So, Dr. Coleman back now. I don't know what. Look, he had to take a break, y'all. He
Where
just left.
I don't see him. There he is.
I think I'm having technical difficulties tonight. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Computer.
Now turn yourself up in the screen a little bit for me. To your right.
Okay.
Yeah. You good.
All
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, Dr. Coleman, welcome, welcome. You all familiar with him now. He's a guru. And as we know, he is passionate
he's our
about
resident
mental health.
expert. He's our
He
resident
is.
expert of
He is.
conversation is art.
Yes, he is excellent and has really educated me a lot. I just want to tell you this, Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
I've taken the ACE test. I took the ACE test. 1 out of 10. And then look, and when I got through, I went back and reread them. I said, am I in denial? Do I need to go into therapy? Maybe I get some stuff that I don't. But no, really, when I read those, it really made me thankful that I could answer no.
Right.
To the majority of those questions, because when I was reading it, I was like, ooh.
What is the ACE?
It's an adverse child
trauma
experience study.
Where will I find it?
That you can just Google it or go on NPR.
Yeah, and actually, Valton, I'm going to put it in the chat. I actually have it.
I just put it up on one of my 3 screens. Thank you.
I'm not fooling with you tonight. I am not fooling with you tonight. Listen, you all. See, can you stand to be blessed? We should have left him struggling. Now he's pulling it up on one of his 3 screens. LaSharie, go get him. Welcome. LaSharie, go get him. But for sure, you all, I'm going to drop that in the screen in the chat now. Go out there and take that. It's quick. It's only 10. It's only 10 questions. Mm-hmm. So you gonna try to come back in on the other one, Doctor? Oh.
Yeah, I'm switching on.
That's much better.
now where is Valerie? Hello?
Look, no, we got to get back. I don't know what happened.
Where? Now we only operating on one screen, folks.
What's going on?
Lord. Oh, Lord.
Something, ain't it? Well, you know what, Dr. Coleman, can you all hear us? Rita and LaSharie, can you all hear us talking in the background? I need somebody to test.
Yeah, somebody tell us.
Tell us, can you all still hear us?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
Yeah, I don't know what happened when you came back in. It shouldn't have done that. Let me see.
Okay. Now he's gone.
Now see.
There you
now
go.
All of us are on here.
Goodness.
Okay. Rita says we're here. We're here.
Okay. All right. You know, hey, Dr. Coleman, this anxiety talk must be really, really needed here. Because listen, you causing us anxiety tonight.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
We started out with sound issues. Then okay. But look, so I'm going to read this information first. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health concern in the United States. Mm-hmm. Over 40 million adults in the U.S. are diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. That's 19.1. So if you throw in the undiagnosed, that probably doubles, I'm thinking in my mind. Meanwhile, approximately 7% of children age 3 to 17 experience issues with anxiety each year. Most people develop symptoms before age 21. Now, okay, I could probably cope if that number said 10 to 17, but 3, what in the world is a 3-year-old having anxiety about?
Anxious about?
Have you seen our 3-year-olds nowadays? How many of them have devices on them?
Too many.
And we've talked about this before with that social dilemma. I just read a study the other day where people in Europe, they're starting to put restrictions on the ability of social media to be used by the youth because of the fact of the alarming statistics as it relates to depression and anxiety that's just skyrocketing among our youth. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's really scary to think about that. And if you Google and look up some of the people who are the archetypes, the architects, I should say, of Google and social media, a lot of them don't even allow their kids to use it. Now, how can you create something?
Right.
Then you don't even let your kids use it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know the dangers of it. MONEY. Exactly.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you can go all the way down to 3 to 17. And one of the things you think about, here's the thing, if we look at, and I know it's called, the word is called evolutionary science, people. But so let's just before I get all the hate mail, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But what they do is they evaluate stuff and they look at, because everybody knows that most of our meds that we get, they run through trials and they use animals to test these medications, because a lot of the tracks that are in our brains are similar in primates and other animals. So basically they'll see how these meds work with them and then they use them on us. And the reason is because we have similar tracks. Well, if you look at most of all of your major religions, from the Mesopotamians to our Christian faith to even some Native Americans, all of them have something related to a snake. And it's believed, they looked at from a scientific perspective, primates, which is our closest relative, the areas where there's a high correlation of primates and snakes, that's where they believe we got our peripheral vision from, because
Is that right?
snakes used to be our greatest enemy. And it's kind of ironic that the scripture talks about the snake.
Right. That's where I
And
was getting ready to go.
that's
The script. No. The scriptures did
about
not
the
talk about a
woman,
snake. It said a
the
serpent.
serpent, but it's the
Yes.
same concept. And so the issue is, historically, our greatest enemy was them, because when we were out in the woods, snakes like pythons and serpents, big snakes, would eat our young. So those tracks were laid long time ago. That's why a lot of times people are afraid of the dark, because in the dark our ancestors would be eaten by these creatures and stuff. So these things go way back.
I
And
was
so
wondering why I was afraid of the dark.
a lot of people are. And so what happens? and so this system that we have to help us with anxiety is really a defense mechanism. It's to protect us from
Wow.
dangers and fears that are out there. And the problem is that those tracks are the primary tracks that our brain wants to work off of, because the number one goal for humans is to survive. So we put a lot of energy into watching and paying attention to dangers. And the consequence of that is anxiety. So back in the day, you had literal snakes, by tigers, bears. But now the thought of being kicked out of a friend group, your ancestors back in the day, if you got kicked out of the clan, that was immediate death, because you couldn't live without being in the clan.
Right.
So that track for wanting to be part of the family, part of a
Click.
group, is deep. And so when these kids on social media, guess what happens to them? They get cyberbullied, they get kicked to the side, they get ostracized. And so that track that's laid for many years is there, and it's telling them, okay, you're at risk for being killed. And it happens with adults too. That's why this whole issue of loneliness, we talked about that with depression, why loneliness is so detrimental, because human beings are created to be in a group. And so these tracks, the responses we have to trying to survive is anxiety when we're faced with fears. So that's what's going on with us right now. So we got a lot of fears going on. You think about right now with inflation and jobs, the job market. Well, for human beings, our jobs and food that's tied to survival.
Right.
So you're tapping in once again to this old ancient neural pathway. And so that's why you're going to have increased anxiety with inflation. You think about whenever the Great Depression hit, how many people committed suicide back in the day? I mean, that was their livelihood. And here we can sit back and say, livelihood, that was, our ancestors who were living and struggling anyway. Blacks didn't commit suicide. They was already struggling. So they didn't see the connection between the stock market and their whole everything,
existence.
So, exactly. And so that's what we got going on now. We have become such a materialistic society that we have equated these things with needs. We've equated wants with needs.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Coleman, because when you talked about with pos and lumen, impending what is it?
Inflation.
Inflation and everything. This is what I've noticed, and it seems to be even here, even with the skyrocketing gas prices, they're coming down now. We are such, as you said when we tried this last time, we become so narcissistic
Yes.
that we won't even stay at home
No.
and start running the streets to conserve gas. We just keep going, and then we still complain about how things are, but we still have this, well, I'm going to live my life the way I want to.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, our parents was like, okay, we can't do that. If something
Right.
major was going on, say like inflation, when it came Christmas, you might have been promised that bike, but the bike wasn't going to show up because we had
What?
more important things. But now, let me share something with my son's former babysitter. Him and his wife said, Mr. Rudy said, you know what I've learned in life? People will buy what they want and they'll beg for what they need.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all of this tied to, because we want to be accepted. We want to
That's
be
right.
validated. So
That's right.
I call it self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
What we know we shouldn't, for the sake of saying, oh, you were able to do it or get that. So how do we get here? You said, how do we end up?
Well, I told you about that book the last time, The Narcissistic Epidemic. We have become a very narcissistic society. We are very individualistic in America right now. So we have replaced what we call intrinsic values with extrinsic values. And intrinsic are, meaningful things of purpose, helping out family. We've replaced that, the love of the ones we care about. We've replaced that with stuff, fame, fortune, prestige. We've replaced it with those things. And the problem is when you replace, and they've done studies, and we've talked about this before, and I know some people remember some of those things we talked about. But they did studies with college students, and they did basically a survey where they would see those students that had increased levels of extrinsic value, because they got them to check off, those students were highly associated with increased risk for depression, anxiety later in life. Those other students that checked mostly on the intrinsic things, like wanting to make a difference in the community, helping others, loving my family, spending those things. I want to be a better person. Those individuals that had those traits as high marks on their survey, those were the ones that did exceptionally well in life. And so there's a guy, his name was Alexis Tocqueville. He wrote a book called Democracy in America. And it's actually, that's an old book, and it's pretty thick, but well, I like the book, so.
But we're not surprised. So what was on page 98? I'm sure you can tell us. Paragraph 3.
But the guy, he came from Europe back in the day in the early 1900s. I mean, actually 1700s. Came way back, and what he observed is how our society was just taking off back then, and he thought, this American thing is something spectacular. But he warned, he was very concerned that, the reason why America is doing so great is because they still have a tight connection with these morals, these Judeo-Christian morals. So they're not allowing stuff to become their idols. But he warned, and he said that the day that they stop believing in a God, this stuff will replace God, and woe to this society.
Yeah, and you mentioned that when we had this the last time, but one of the things, and I went back and listened to those 2 separate ones we did so we could tie in, because I know people were very engaged. And one of the things you said, Dr. Coleman, is that the U.S. is one of the wealthiest countries, yet the most miserable.
That's right.
Our culture has become more narcissistic. You talked about the book, The Narcissistic Epidemic. We've self-absorbed, and you talked about FOMO, fear of missing out, and we've become less spiritual. God has been replaced by social media. Y'all got a typo when I pasted that. Because social media always shows how you don't stack up. And you were talking about how even when people go on vacation, they're not really vacationing.
Right.
They're post-cationing. That's what I call it.
That is what's happening. So they're not
everything.
enjoying the moments. And then the kids are sitting there waiting on the likes to be hit so that they can determine whether or not they can feel good about what they have. Now, isn't that sad that you can get a gift, but before you can enjoy that gift, you got to make sure other people think your gift is good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I like to post my vacation pictures after vacation.
Me too.
Because I don't want anybody to know when I'm away from home.
Well, see,
and
that's different. But that's different. But other people are posting because they want people to see them in a different light.
Yeah.
And that's the culture we're living in right now. And so what you create by doing that is this constant state of anxiety. Here's the other part that I don't remember all the details from the last time. But when we talk about these 3 to 17-year-olds, see, when we went to school, if there was a bully at school, guess what? When we got home, there was no bully. These kids, when they go home, guess what? The bully's on their phone, and the
Right.
bully's in their room, and the bully's in their room with them all the way till they go to bed. And when they wake back up, guess where the bully is? Right there beside them. So they're being
Yeah.
bullied nonstop, and it's
Yeah.
creating all this anxiety, and it's making them be overly concerned with acceptance.
So basically, all this technology we created to make life a little more fun, and it's actually coming back to be a
Cause us be miserable.
Yes.
miserable and everything. You know, another thing you talked about, and like I said, I went back and got these high points because we're gonna have this discussion. You said, you
Whether you
know,
want to or not.
we're gonna have this discussion. Well, look, our audience, they were so engaged, they were disappointed. Look, and you talked about how when we get anxious, we don't deal with the anxiety or pay attention to the symptoms. We get more busy. We start binge watching
Watching
TV,
TV,
and you were
eating
talking about
junk
how
food. Yep.
and everything, and our minds don't shut off at
Never.
all. And you were sharing some ways that we can actually shut our mind down so we can exhale and just
Right.
release some things. So one of those things you talked about was deep breathing,
That's right. And here's
getting
why
along
that's
quiet.
important. Well, it's twofold because the deep breathing is most people have driven a car. And you think about when you drive the car and you push on the gas, the car goes fast, right? That stress is going full speed. The brakes is what is called the relaxing side, the parasympathetic nervous system. See, the sympathetic nervous system is 100 miles to nothing. That's the
Go,
part
go,
of us
go.
that's always go, 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 go. And most Americans, unfortunately, live in that side. You know, we brag about 4 hours of sleep. You know, people talk about, I can get sleep when I die. Well, yeah, you're right. And if you keep with that mentality, you'll be dying a lot sooner than you want. So we'll see how much you catch up on it.
So say that.
But the problem is, honestly, when you do the deep breathing, because what happens when people get anxiety, it's like an automatic response. See, what people don't realize is your brain, your heart beats right. Everybody's heart is beating right now, automatically. We're not sitting here mad at our heart for beating because that's its job. Your brain's job, number one job, is to keep you alive. And to keep you alive, it needs to find whatever may harm you. So that's why anxiety is such a big issue, because anxiety is a consequence of our brain finding things that it deems is going to harm us. And so when that system kicks in, it actually will override your frontal lobe. So basically, the part of your brain that tells you, that allows you to make executive function, allows you to make good decisions, it gets overridden by your limbic system when you get overly stressed out. And it is like, it's very hard to get out of that cycle once it kicks in. And so the thing that the deep breathing will do, it actually helps you to slow down that process. It's like pushing on the brakes. So, I always tell my clients, take a seat, sit comfortably, take a deep breath in your nose, and count to 3 as you take that breath in, hold it for 4 seconds, and blow out like you're blowing out of a straw, and count to 6. And do that, between 4 to 6 cycles. And you might feel a little lightheaded. So if you feel a little lightheaded, do it 4 times. Don't sit there and pass out on me. But what that'll do is that'll help you to kind of relax and get out of that vicious cycle that you're in. And a lot of people, when we talked about trauma, the triggers, the triggers that people don't realize is certain smells may trigger people. Certain sounds may trigger somebody, and they don't know. But it's kind of like one of the things I talked about before. Like I remember the first time the abuse thing happened in my home was on a Christmas morning, and so for years at 7:15, I didn't even have to see a freaking clock, but around 7:15, I would just automatically start feeling this sense of like dread, and it just come over me. And that goes back to that trauma thing. And it's like, how in the world does my mind know that it's around that time? But that goes back to that track. Your brain's job is to try to protect you. And what people don't realize, you don't know what all your triggers are. Because a lot of these things happen, as we talked about before. Some of these things happen while you were in your mother's womb. Like your mother may have been in some kind of vicious, horrible situation with your father or something. And those stress hormones went to you in her womb.
Wow.
And most of your issues that you don't realize start happening to you between the ages of in the womb to 3. And so now here you are, you're 3 years old. All these things have, been exposed to, and they've been deeply implanted in you. And so now there's like auto messaging. When a trigger happens, when a sound happens, when you see something, the tone of somebody's speech, the way somebody walks in the room, the smell of a cigarette, the smell of a cigar, the smell of alcohol, all those things become triggers. And when you don't realize that, the next thing you know, you're having a panic attack, or you're trying to avoid going places, or you're just staying at home. You're becoming more irritable. You're not sleeping. You can't get something off your mind. So unfortunately, that's what people are dealing with. And most people don't slow down enough to realize it.
Well, Dr. Coleman, I know one of the things we talked about was with all this anxiety, because I think anxiety is kind of like, will kind of be the build up to other more
That's right.
mental illness. And one of the things we talked about was this increased suicide rate that we're seeing, and especially in Black children. You gave us a stat. It said 2018, the suicide became the second leading cause of death in Black children aged 10 through 14.
That's right.
And the third leading cause of death in Black adolescents aged 15 to 19. Well, let me ask you this. Do we have statistics now on the younger groups? Because, these children now younger are committing suicide as well.
They do, but I don't have them on my head right now. But
Okay,
yes,
what? Write that down, y'all.
I know, right? I know. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a station break. Let's take a station break as we laugh at Dr. Demel Coleman. Ladies and gentlemen, you have tuned in to Conversation is Art, the Val and Val Show. And once again, we're talking with Dr. Demel Coleman about the mental challenges. And actually, the topic is a sea of anxieties, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with the mental health aspect of and how we can combat these things. And right now, you are getting free advice. You didn't even have to do a copay. You know what? We may need to put a cash up out there. You may need to pay for this.
Well, one of the things I always try to do is give people little mnemonics, and we've talked about it before. Take your meds. Meds. We talk about meditation.
Right.
That's where we deep breathe was one activity that can help you to relax. And the meditation, there's so many different apps out there, Headspace, Calm, that people can use. But, you can go on YouTube and find some free meditation stuff instead of paying for it. Or, there's some, of course, there's different things, but mindfulness meditation is the one that's been the most researched as far as treatment and help with CBT. I mean, as far as anxiety and depression. So mindfulness, so for the people who are in the South who are spiritual, we can go there. The scripture tells you to be still and know that I'm God. That's what mindfulness meditation is. Mindfulness meditation is when you sit, and I think in the scripture it talks about there was a tornado, there was a fire, there was an earthquake, but it was in the stillness of the voice. And so when you think about it, what he was doing, he was observing everything that was going on, but he wasn't being distracted by it. And so when you sit still, what you allow yourself to do, you realize, okay, this brain of mine that's been traumatized, that's going through stuff, it's telling me that there's some things in my life that's very chaotic. But just because these things are chaotic doesn't mean that I'm chaotic. And so that's what mindfulness allows you to do. It allows you to put the distance to separate yourself from the stuff that's happening in your life. And so you stop going so much on the roller coaster ride that most people find themselves on. And so exercise. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you finna get through with do the meds,
I was
because last time you didn't finish them, so I ain't.
That's why I was gonna run through with them real quick. So the E is for exercise. Exercise helps with anxiety, because what you do is when people are, it's like being like you wound up, and so when you go jogging and stuff like that, that's a nice way to release that tension, because running releases endorphins, and endorphins, most people don't realize endorphins are like the opiates that we take for pain. So actually running can help to relieve you from the stress and the pain of life. So that's a nice way. Now, don't go out here and overdo it, because then you'll cause yourself pain. But a nice jog is a good thing for people to do. Go swimming. That's another thing. The D stands for diet. We talked about this a million times. So many people, one of the biggest concerns I've seen in my clinic is these young people and young adults drinking these monster drinks. Man, it is so much caffeine in that stuff. And then these kids, and they're drinking this caffeine, and then they even drink the caffeine, the monsters with the Red Bull with liquor, so they can stay sober longer and get the high. But they don't realize that caffeine is putting so much strain on their body. And so when you leave the club, your brain is still hyped up, so you don't even get good quality sleep. So you're killing yourself by messing with your sleep. And the caffeine itself is like a stimulant, so it actually can induce anxiety. So it can make your anxiety and panic attacks worse. So I tell people, hey, if you drink a whole bunch of caffeine, you really need to shut it down. Drink your cup of coffee in the morning or whatever, in the morning, but by 2 o'clock, because you need to give your body about 8 hours to get that caffeine out so you can get you some rest. So be careful about the caffeine and the sugar. That sugar, man, we talked about that before, that processed foods. If it's in a box or a can, try to avoid it as much as you can, because that will tear up your anxiety, all those processed foods, because those sugars make your glucose levels spike, and that can make you feel anxious. And then we go to the S, which is sleep. We talked about that the last time too. If you don't get good sleep, that's like pouring a tanker of gas on a fire. Lack of sleep actually causes anxiety. So people need to be mindful of that. We talked about a study before about with the people in the military shooting guns, and you really need about 7 hours of sleep if you're an adult. And kids, teenagers need more because their brains are still developing. What people don't realize is young adults, for as women, their brain is still really developing to about 23, 24, and guys around 27. So even though you are 18 and you think you're grown, your brain is still developing. You need rest. So you need between 8 to 10 hours of sleep and not just 4. I get it. I remember when I was young, going a couple of days without being asleep because you're hanging out with your bros and stuff. But you're doing wear and tear on your body, and you can increase your issues with anxiety.
That's because we didn't know any better. We did not know we should have been asleep.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
you know what? I have a young lady that I somewhat mentor, and we were just having this conversation yesterday, and I said, well, she's getting ready to do something. I said, well, it seems like you're taking on a lot. I said, you may want to take a step back and evaluate, do you need to be doing this particular thing now? And her reply was, well, I just be drinking Red Bulls. And I shared some stuff with her. I said, you shouldn't be doing that either. And another thing we need to bring out with those drinks that have been tied to you all, they can send you into arrhythmias. If you take up on enough of that,
that's right.
You can actually have a cardiac arrhythmia. And some of those are fatal.
That's
you go
right.
into the wrong one. They don't get you back. So you need to be mindful of that.
Here's a sad story about that. We had a nurse at my facility that drank Red Bulls. She was drinking like 3 to 5 a day.
Whoa.
And and I told her, I said, you know how bad that is on your heart? You really need to stop. And she's like, oh, I need it and this and that. Now, this woman was, I think, 33, 34 years old, went into full congestive heart failure, had to have surgery, and is on disability. And the only medical problem she had was drinking all those Red Bulls. She had no other health issues.
Jeez.
No blood pressure, no diabetes, just drinking Red Bulls too much. And it put too much strain on her heart. And she had congestive heart failure, 34 years old.
And you all, congestive heart failure, when that heart failure is a pump, that's when you get all the swelling, the shortness of the breath. And it ain't good. It is not good. So you need to be mindful. If you feel like you got to take a substance to keep you going, that means you need to rest. Yes. I'm all about that rest, y'all. I believe in naps.
So do I.
Certain cultures allow you to nap. And what I tell people to do as far as sleep, they need to cut those devices off at least an hour before bedtime. And I know that's hard for some people, but you really do need to cut it off.
And you really should take the TV out of the bedroom.
Out of your room. Get it out of it. Get it completely out.
Boy, you have some marriages ending, honey.
Or some babies being made. The married bed is undefiled.
What I tell my patients, the adults, not the kids, that the bed is for sex and sleep. That's it.
Y'all hear that? Get the TV out your room.
Get it out. And take you a hot bath. A hot bath actually, because what you'll do by taking a hot bath, the blood will start pooling to your skin, and it'll actually cause the central areas of your body to cool off. So when you get out of a hot bath, what you want to be is your body temperature to be decreased. Like, you want to sleep in a cool room about 68 degrees. And that'll allow you to sleep better. Your room needs to be really dark. I know some people have issues with light, but when your eyelids are even closed, it still picks up on the light. And so your brain is still being stimulated, even though there's just a little bit of light in the room. It'll
Oh
throw
no,
you
honey,
off.
I got double room darkening. I got shades and curtain,
Yeah,
and I
curtains
want
to
no
shade it down.
gates. And then if he really look, I get what is the mask too? I have
Right.
a
Oh
mask
Lord, really?
because but let me tell you what people don't realize this. I told them they need to go back to the old fashioned. You remember when the lights were red? Y'all, these blue lights.
Yep. That's what they really need to do. If you got to have a
They
light
really
in
need
your
to
room,
go
you should
back
put a
to the
red one in
red
there.
ones.
Yes.
That did not affect your
No, they
sleep, but
don't
these
affect
blue
it. The blue
lights,
lights do because the blue light reminds your brain of it's time to wake up. Because
yeah.
and
But
so
some
it'll actually
good
stimulate
old black masking tape, y'all take care of that. I'm like, who put these blue lights on these devices?
because these young folks like it.
Mm.
But you really need if you're gonna put lights in your room, make it red, and that'll really help you.
Yeah,
Like I
For
said,
red.
and you can,
sure.
as the old folks say, put you some Epsom salt in your water,
Yeah.
because Epsom
that'll
salt
that'll,
has it
that'll
will
relax
because
you.
it contains magnesium and what in our diets that we eat in this country. I read a study where I think says about 40% of Americans are deficient in magnesium,
Mm.
and low levels of magnesium have been associated with anxiety. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so something
Oh
as
Lord,
simple as that.
help us, Lord.
So Epsom salt can be absorbed through the
That's through
skin
your skin. That's right. And
and
so
increase your
it's
levels of magnesium.
yes, and it'll help you relax.
Y'all can now call me Dr. Valvin Johns. I just did medical school. Check that out.
Hey, look, and fans, look, I am dropping things in the chat that Dr. Coleman shared from the previous time. He may not get to talk about all of it, but guess what? When you go out and look something up yourself, you are more
Mhm.
likely to retain that information. And
Right,
we need to
right.
start reading and studying things. He got some good YouTube
Oh yeah.
videos that he referred us to. So I'm dropping those in there. He got one on
Okay.
how to develop healthy habits. Now
Habits.
look,
That's right.
if you continue struggling with what you're struggling with or your family members, it's not because Dr. Coleman has not given you
Right.
the
The information.
information
That's
and
right.
some of the tools. And of course, you all don't try to self-treat.
Right.
Right.
There are
Right.
things you need to go to therapy. And
That's
you
right.
all, one thing I would like to do, Dr. Coleman, we talked about this. We need to have a mental health summit. I mean,
Hmm.
coming well, we're still in we ain't
Yep.
coming out of COVID because these COVID numbers going back up.
They are.
This merry-go-round, this
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
cycle.
and people need to make sure a lot of people don't still this guy, he's a Dr. Norman Deutsch, Doidge. He wrote a great article on COVID called Needle Points. But
Ooh, let me
the
put that
gist
down.
of it, yeah, it's really good. But the gist is this, we really need to they've tons of studies. If you got mild symptoms, you know what they're going to tell you to take? Vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D3. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been
Mhm.
doing that from the beginning.
Yes, so
And,
we.
and and the only thing that I will warn people about on D3 is a fat soluble per se vitamin. So you can have negative effects of too much D3. One of the main negative effects is it'll increase levels of calcium deposits in your arteries and stuff, so you can get hardened of the artery. So what you have to do is you have to take what is called K2 with D3, and that'll keep that calcium from being absorbed into
To
your
build
arteries.
up.
Yeah, so it'll
Okay.
allow it to be healthy. So take
Now, what
K2
is
with D.
K2? You talking about
It's
potassium?
yeah, well,
Full
it's like the vitamin
potassium.
K, like for blood
Okay.
clotting thin and stuff. But it's two
Okay.
different metabolites of it. K1 is the one we give for blood thinners, but K2 is the other part that helps with the absorption and prevents the over expression of calcium in the bloodstream. So it
Okay.
prevents you from having a calcification of your arteries. So
Okay.
take
Okay.
K2 with D3. And I take airborne because it contains, and I'm not plugging airborne. There's emergency, and you can take them separately. But I just take it because it contains vitamin C and zinc. So,
Mhm.
Okay.
Airborne.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
so vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D3 with K2, especially right now with COVID and stuff. And the biggest risk factor. This goes back to that exercise thing. About 80% of our people who have died from COVID associated with obesity. So we really, really, and what culture is most affected by obesity? Ours.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we really need to get to exercising. I
Mhm.
don't care what you want to do, whatever kind of movement you want to do. And some other books about on anxiety. There's a really good book. It's called Your Brain on Food by Dr. Uma Nadu. I don't know if I put that in that stuff I had sent you. Uma Uma Nadu Naidoo. That's a really good book, and it talks about basically all the stuff I've said about stuff you need to avoid. So, but if you want the book to it, then you can read that book.
Spell her last name because another one is coming up.
N
I'm looking these up.
Naidoo, I believe it is. Uma
Okay,
not Nadu,
got it. Okay.
but it's your brain on food.
Like I said, y'all, if y'all don't get this stuff, it ain't because Dr. Coleman
That's right. That's right.
ain't is not giving it to us. Look, let me check my list. Okay, let's talk about this. I wrote this down from the previous one.
Mhm.
Reframing by
Oh,
addressing
that
cognitive
goes
distortion.
really goes into what you were talking about with therapy. That's why CBT is one of the mainstays of treatment for anxiety. Cognitive behavioral therapy is what it's called. Everybody has cognitive distortions. So a cognitive distortion simply is the way you see the world. So some
Okay.
people are overgeneralize things, like one bad thing happened, that means everything is horrible. And so it's
Yeah.
like 12 different types of cognitive distortions that all are non-thinking. So when you have these cognitive distortions about life, what that'll do is that'll trigger you, and that'll send you to this cycle of anxiety again. So what you
Mhm.
have to learn how to do is to reframe. And reframing is, I'll give you an example. I don't know if I said it the last time, but I'll throw myself under the bus. So so there was a period where I used to wear braces, and I started doing all this reading and stuff about healthy eating, how, because there's no pills to fix what I got, but food is medicine. And I started realizing that the stuff I was eating was actually making my autoimmune disease worse. So I don't eat past 6. So I would do like intermittent fasting. And so I don't eat past 6, but my wife, the family, they eat whatever they want. And so we go grocery shopping. And what I would do is I would buy stuff like asparagus or shrimp or salmon that I could cook quickly if she cooked something that
Mhm.
I wasn't eating at that time, because I don't eat certain foods. And so this day she was cooking meatloaf, and we had just gone to the grocery store that previous Sunday, I believe it was. And so this was like a Wednesday or something. And so I was going to have to go to the grocery store to get my items because I had forgot. Now, this goes back to those triggers from childhood that we don't realize how things impact us. And I figured this out journaling. So in retrospect, that's why journaling is important. So in that moment, I was so stressed out about going to get 2 items, because the way I was brought up is that's selfish to just think about you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize until after the fact. And so unconsciously, here I was, and most people live 95% unconscious. Unconsciously, here I was harassing her to figure out something that I could pick up just so I could go get 2 items from the grocery store. And then she gives me 3 items. So now I feel good. I go to the grocery store, get the 5 items. I'm in the checkout line. It's 5:32 at that time. So as I'm getting ready to check out, I get another text. It's 7 more items. Now, a rational person would just say, man, I'm in this line, let me get out. But somebody whose mental construct is subjugation, that's when you look at that with some of those books I talked about, doing some work on myself. I
Mhm.
understood now in retrospect that what I was doing was I always put other people first. So
Mm,
unconsciously, I was like, okay, 7 items, no big deal. Let me go get those 7 items. So I get the 7 items, come back in the line. Now it's 5:37, 5:38.
Yeah.
And the stuff is going through the conveyor belt, whatever whatever's properly called. And I get another text with a bunch of other items.
Whew.
Now, exactly. Anybody else on this listening right now would just say, you know what? I'm going home. But because of the way I was framed,
Mhm.
shaped,
Mhm.
conditioned,
Yep.
I didn't see it, because it was just automatic. It's like a trigger.
Mhm.
Somebody needs something, hey, you do it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so now I'm out of the line, but all of a sudden, my neck is getting tight, my ears are getting hot.
Stress level going up.
Hey, you know it. And
Yeah.
so, and I
I got to eat
realized,
by 6 o'clock. It ain't gonna
yes,
happen
see,
now.
I got 2 things going on. That's
So what
like
you do? You
all the
went through the store,
non-thinking.
start eating up all the food.
Well, I'll tell you
that's
exactly
what
what I
Balto
did.
would have done.
Absolutely.
I realized after the fact that I was getting into an anxiety cycle. And what
Mhm.
did I tell you to do? Do the deep breathing. So I put my cart to the
Hmm.
side. I went in the bathroom, sit the stall, sat on top of the commode, and sat there and did my breathing exercise. And after I did my breathing exercise, which allowed me to get out of that cycle of just, I wasn't thinking straight. So once I got to that place where I could feel that I had calmed down enough, then I said, okay, What's going on? So then I allowed myself, and this is where reframing comes in. I allowed myself to blame her, talk about how selfish she is, and how this is messed up. She don't think about me. I always have to think about this. And once I got done, though, the reframing is, okay, I understand maybe 90% of what she did is there, but what's the 10% that you did? And so then I sat there and I was forced to actually force myself to really evaluate the situation. Okay, did she make you get the items? No. Did she even tell you to get the items in the first place? No. I was the one that did that.
You initiated it.
But you see, I didn't know that in that moment because all I was doing is caught up in my anxiety loop, my stress loop, and I couldn't see. So I did my breathing exercise. I was able to actually process things and get back into the frontal part of your brain where you can think clearer. Most people don't. They just react. Most people react to stuff and then they regret what they did. But if you do the breathing and you actually reframe, which is look at what you're talking about and look at what part you played in it. And once I realized that, then I could say, you know what? It's not the end of the world. One of those cognitive distortions, like you said, Valton. My next thing is, oh my God, it's going to be past 6 o'clock. I done been out of these braces now for 2 years. I'm finna end up back in my braces. Everything that I've done is just lost.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? That's a cognitive distortion. And so now I had to reframe that. I said, is that really true? Am I really going, when I wake up in the morning, am I going to really be in braces? Now my body and everything in me telling me, yes, I am. But then I question, is that really true? No, it's not. It's not really true.
Right.
Okay, well, it didn't change the fact of how I felt. And see, most people think, well, when you do these cognitive distortions, if I still feel a way, well, that's still a problem. No, it's only a problem if you allow how you feel to dictate how you act. See, the more you say, okay, I understand why I feel this way because I'm a perfectionist. I get that. That's why I have all the non-thinking. Now, the good side of that, it allowed me to become a doctor. But this is one of these moments where it's bad. And I don't have to listen to it right now.
But it's like
so that's
anything,
how you do
we
the
can have
reframing
extremes.
stuff. Yes.
And I drop your statement you shared because I think when you were talking about this last time, you talked about the work.com.
Yes. That's
so
they have
just
work
dropped
sheet.
that.
Exactly.
I just dropped that in there. So
Okay.
basically, you all need to put these devices down, get you a journal, get you some good set of shoes and start walking because y'all walking is a easy exercise. Just 30 minutes. It's all you need to do.
That's
and if
it.
you get the music you like,
that's right.
Or if you got some books you want to listen to, you'll be amazed that 30 minutes will go by fast. And don't start out at 30 minutes. If you have not walked anything, do 5. Or if you live on a block, walk to the end, say, let me walk down to the corner and back.
So let me ask this question.
Just to the mailbox.
So let me ask this question. So we talked about journaling.
Yes.
So I think a lot of challenges arise when we don't know where to start in the journal process.
Well, you only do 5 sentences. Don't see, most people think they have to do the whole day. The only time I write a deep journal is when something like what happened to me happened. Like when I had a bad moment, because I want to write that out because I want to process it. Because guess what? Down the road, another one is going to happen. But guess what I just learned? I just saw how I was able to work through that. But what I do on a regular basis, I just do simple things. Okay, what am I grateful for? So I always start with gratitude because I want to force myself to think about something that's positive today because we live in a very negative world. And there's a ton of research on gratitude and how there's a really good book on gratitude by Hal Elrod. I think it's, oh my goodness. Hal Elrod is his name. Something about morning something. It went away from, but his name is Hal Elrod, Elrod. But basically, there's tons of research on gratitude and how it helps us with depression and anxiety. So I always write down something I'm grateful for. Then I write down something I learned today because I don't write mistakes. You know, mistakes, when you put things in the framework of a mistake, then you feel like you're a mistake. And then next thing you know, you've triggered yourself. So if you put it in the context of something you learned, then even bad things you can learn something from. And then the next thing I put is something to celebrate. What did I do? And this is about being intentional. See, that is if you can do those 3 things, what that'll force you to do in life, it'll force you to be more grateful. It'll force you to stop looking at things as you being a mistake and start looking for, okay, how can I learn from this situation so that I don't repeat it? It doesn't mean that I'm a mistake.
Is Hal Elrod the miracle morning?
That's it. Miracle morning. That's it.
Okay. Give me that last point you said. What I learned today, and what was the last thing you
Something
said?
to celebrate.
Okay, something to
And
celebrate.
why is that important? Because it's going to force you each day to think about something that you need to do for somebody else that you can celebrate. Did I do something to help somebody? Did I make myself better today? Well, I'm going to celebrate the fact that I read a book today. I'm going to celebrate the fact that I walked to the mailbox. You know, one of the things my wife was talking, because she's on this working out thing. She goes this thing. And one of the things, she's probably going to fuss at me about throwing business out there soon. But,
I come
but
get you.
But one of the things she talks about, like sometimes she'll try to be discouraged because she don't do exactly how she thinks she should have done. And so what I'll say is, well, you did better than zero. And it's always better than zero, because just however many years ago, you didn't do anything. So even if you do it for 5 minutes,
our
is better
stream
than
messing
zero.
up for some reason. I think it's stated.
Well, it's you, Val, because I see me and Valton are moving perfect,
right.
but
Yeah,
you're
we're
freezing
fine.
up. But so I always try to get people to see, okay, let's not compare yourself to what you used to be. Compare yourself to where you were yesterday. Am I getting better than I was yesterday? And that's all you do. You know, and
or
so
don't compare yourself to others.
No, nobody else.
Yeah.
You don't ever want to compare yourself to anybody else, because there's only you.
Right.
And you can always be better.
Okay. Now you frozen.
Oh yeah, he froze up that
you froze
time.
just for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's another range of storms coming in.
Yeah.
I was looking to see was it get dark.
Yeah, it is.
They are.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, look, Dr. Coleman, we're gonna get with you, because we're actually gonna we need to have some type of mental health summit. Seriously,
You want to do that? All right. Let's look at September. Let's look around September.
Yeah, we seriously do, because we need to put this in the forefront, give people tools and stuff, especially in our community. As you said, our family structure has changed.
It has.
However, so we got to adapt and get the tools. Like you said, it's not going to be undone. So we've got to learn how to adapt with where we are. And more than anything, make people realize that your self-worth is not determined by what you have. And I always tell my kids, if that was what determined by what you have, Michael Jackson will still be with us. Prince will still be with us. Whitney will still be with us. And a host of others.
That's right.
I mean, and that's another thing. Those songs that she sang, that was a cry for help.
It was.
With everything. So we just want to make sure that we take care of ourselves. Again, this is Minority Mental Health Month. And Dr. Coleman, the people said you need to figure out a way to be having some office time in Birmingham.
Right. I've already tried it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm one of the hosts, and I can't even get in.
They need you. They need you. But I would like to request this of you. If you would send me a list of practitioners here that you feel you trust and that would be good for some of our, we can post that on the site, because I know that's one of the things for us is that.
Well, I can tell you, but it's going to be hard getting in. I'll just be honest with you.
Yeah,
really. Yeah, they're booked up. The two that I know
are booked
up big time. I'll just be honest with you. Now, I can give you their names.
Okay.
Dr.
Well, look,
Thad Riles and Dr. Christine Smith. Those two are really good.
But give me those names again.
Thad Riles, Ryals, Thad Riles, and Christine Smith, Dr. Christine Smith, Smith. But I'll tell you ahead of time, you're going to be hard pressed to get in with either one of them.
Are they psychiatrists, correct?
They are.
Okay.
They are. But I would also tell people that, really, you can, especially for anxiety, one of the mainstay treatments is cognitive behavioral therapy. So you can go to see a therapist to get somebody to help you with CBT, and a primary care doctor can prescribe you an SSRI or a low-dose benzo. Initially, those are two of the mainstays for treatment of anxiety. But CBT in several studies has been shown to be just as effective as a pill. So if you go to a therapist and actually learn these coping skills, and if for those people, I'll just throw it out there. Like I just told you, I never went to a therapist, but I got issues. And all the stuff I'm telling you is how I worked on my issues. So, and I don't expect everybody to be able to do that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying for those that are out there, if you'll take these resources and actually start applying them, they can really help you a lot. And I would definitely go see a therapist for cognitive behavioral therapy because it can help with depression and anxiety. So those are things that you can do even if you can't get into a psychiatrist.
And I want to say this, you all. Sometimes you need to invest in yourself. So that means deciding, I'm not going to spend all this money for Christmas. I need to get my mind right. That's more important. And then I guarantee you, if you do that, then you will start looking at all this gift buying and stuff in a different light and realize I am not going to be spending my money doing this. We're going to have some meaningful things that we do. One of my greatest fond memories of Christmas was just family there and us sitting around laughing and talking and eating and enjoying. And when I think about it, it wasn't a whole lot of gifts. We didn't feel those kind of way.
But
It
it was a
was the
lot of
art
love.
of family.
It was a lot of
the art
love.
of family. Now it's like, if I don't spend, even if I buy you a gift, if I didn't spend what you thought I should have spent, that's why I don't buy no gift. That won't buy none. You ain't got to worry about it. I spent zero.
there's a show on Netflix, and I'm not telling people to go to this extreme, but it's called Minimalism. And it's about a guy who basically had worked his way up in his company, making six figures. He was married, because he came from nothing, and he felt like he should have been happy, and he was miserable. His mom had cancer, and she was dying from cancer, but he was so needed at his job that he couldn't find time to go see his mom as much as he wanted. And so when she died, guess what? Not only did he lose his mom, but then his marriage fell apart. So here he is working his butt off for a wife, and to be able to, I guess, show that he has made it. And the things that he valued most, he lost his mom and his wife. And then he realized all that running around didn't make him happy.
Hey, Dr. Coleman, well, look, you called me to get this therapy. I was laughing at you about your grocery store experience. This is how it rolled with me. When I get ready to leave the house, I said, do anybody need anything? Because I'm going to know. So I am strictly a hunter, right? So when I walk into the store, I'm not going up and down every aisle. I know where things are. I'm grabbing and going. I do not check my phone. So this is what happens. When I get back home, I get this, hey, did you get my text? Number one, this is it. Number one, I tell them, if it's something you really want to communicate with me about, you better ring this phone. Because I am not walking through the store with my phone in my hand. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
And I got to go back now because I got a new phone and somehow connected to my watch because I do not like my wrist vibrating. I think that's the most annoying thing in the world. No.
Get you a Timex. All this old high technology.
But I
don't want to buy you a $5 pair. I'm going to get me a $500 watch.
No, the only reason I like this is because when I exercise, it keeps up with that in my steps. But I don't want my text messages. I don't want to talk through this phone. We don't went too far. Okay, that's why we all stressed out. Y'all up here talking to your wrist and all this foolery.
That's right.
I mean, I don't want it to be connected to me like that. So that's coming the next time when you say I'm going to the store. As a matter of fact, if you don't want to, you don't even have to ask. I'm going to the store.
But see, here's where
I know
where
it. That's you.
It's that conditioning, and that's what we have to work through. And
with everything,
it's like the this is sad, but it's true. I never had a hobby because unconsciously the thought of me having a hobby is being selfish to my family. So I did exactly. You see my point. So either I worked or I was busy with my family, and I didn't get a hobby until I think it was 2019. I started kayaking for the first time. Like
oh, you kayaking? You went to the extreme with it. You said, "Let me catch up."
but just think. Here I am. But I could do that stuff. I would do it with my wife when we went on vacation. But I'm talking about just me
by yourself. Your time. Your time.
And that's what I'm saying. When people don't realize is you take those. Most of us just operate unconsciously on things, and you don't even realize how deep some of your past issues go. And you just unconsciously are going through there's a movie with Denzel. I like Denzel, but this movie is called The Manchurian Candidate. Anybody ever watched that?
Yeah.
That's how we are. We are conditioned and we go through life. And then when those that little thing hits, we go into our mode. And that's how we are. The triggers that we don't realize every day keep us as a Manchurian Candidate. We don't even know what we're doing most of the time.
Wow.
That's why we put things down and can't find them when we go pick
them up. That's right.
Look, our mind is so
right.
Our mind is so
like where are my glasses? Oh, here they are. They're on my face. Yeah. Oh, they're on your head or whatever.
Because we're never present. Look, we're always thinking about what we got to do next or what happened in the past. We never slow down to be present in this moment.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really working on, even when it comes to eating, or if I'm talking to someone, to be present.
Yes, cut off your phones when you eat. Slowly everything. Eat. Yes.
And and not scrolling the internet.
That's right. That's
a whole nother thing. Watching TV. But anyway, look. So we hope you all have enjoyed this redo of anxiety. Take advantage of some of these things. And you all remember, you can go back into our page and watch all of these recordings again. So next month, which will be perfect because school may have not started, but we're gonna be talking about sports and how it relates to mental health. And you all know that's big. Some of these athletes
Thomas just recently died, and they looked at CTE.
Yeah,
they're wondering about Marion Barber with the Cowboy running back.
Yeah, he had a heat stroke.
They're wondering if there was some CTE associated with that as well.
You know, Brian Erlanger came out yesterday and said a lot of guys are telling the truth about having CTE.
Yeah.
I think
because you mask it.
Those... Is one of them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's really not funny.
Yeah.
It really is true.
No. I'm saying
that I know what you're saying, Val.
From a political standpoint.
I got you.
For real. I mean, it really is. So that's why, I'm sure you're going to tell us about kids playing some of these contact sports too soon.
We need to be careful about that.
And how detrimental it is. So look, folks, we enjoyed you all. We hope you enjoyed this show.
Yes. Conversations are coming back at you next week.
Look, and we got to do him justice because Carter is on the move. So
yes, Carter's doing his due. What's up, Carter?
So look at here. This is Mr. Carter right here, y'all. So you all can reach out to him or you can send us a message. And we will definitely get with you. If you know somebody you want to have on the show or not, or somebody you said don't have them on the show.
we will determine that.
It might be a reason. It might be a reason you don't want them on
probably
here.
An ex.
I'm not fooling with him. But anyway, you all be safe. Hopefully you all are enjoying the World Games. Look, I got to stand up a little bit, y'all. This my friend made me this shirt. Let me put my whole self on the screen.
Oh Lord.
You can see me. Let me take y'all out.
Look,
my friend made my shirt for the World Games, and look, we made sure she didn't do nothing that she would go to jail for. Listen, that's what I told her. I said, make sure you don't be doing no copyright stuff. Modified.
Well, that stuff was on Pinterest, and you could download it, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, I know.
Because of course, I made some stuff.
Yeah. But you know what I said? But let me tell you what I told you. At the end of the day, they wouldn't know if you did or somebody else did it when you buying the shirts and everything.
Right.
So if you didn't make it to the opening ceremony and you can get tickets, go to the closing ceremony, y'all. It was really beautiful. I mean, I'm very proud of Birmingham. Going back to, you talked about negative thoughts and stuff. There were some people, some of the sound went right. I'm like, that was so minor compared to how beautiful everything was. Yeah. And you spent your time focusing on
the negative.
Exactly.
Yep. Majoring in the minors.
Yep.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Let me see. Somebody just typed some. What was it?
Great show.
Mary Daly, she said, thank you, Dr. Coleman, Val. And Marjorie says, great show. Have a blessed week. So you all go back, review these recordings and have your notepad and write some of this stuff down because Dr. Coleman will be rattling them off. I'm trying to keep up.
I know, right? And let me say this, Valerie. Let me say this, if I may. Dr. Coleman, thank you so much once again for being with us. And listeners, thank you all for tuning in. One of the things I would like to point your attention to as it relates to the World Games is that if you missed an opportunity to participate by way of being a vendor or someone being hired to do something, prepare and make your craft known. That way, when another opportunity like this comes about, you will be the one they call and say, hey, can you do thus and so? Because there were a lot of people right here from Birmingham that actually got paid for their participation in the World Games. And it's was very unique. And I'm very happy to have played a role, whether it's small or large. I'm just happy to have been there. But what I want you all to do is take your craft and make it your own and practice.
True.
Because that will make you a professional in the end.
And then go down to the plaza, you all. That's free. They got free concerts. Go down to the plaza and just see what's out there. It's an awesome time. You know, get out.
And take your business cards. Network. This is a huge networking opportunity.
Yeah, and don't try to drive downtown. You better find out where them parking areas are, because you ain't gonna get close.
Not close at all.
As a matter of fact, if you don't exercise, that'll be your first start.
But put on your ortho shoes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. Thank you for tuning in to the Val and Val Show. Conversation is Art with Dr. Demel Coleman, Valerie Jones, and myself, Alton Johnson. We hope you had a good time, as we have enjoyed you being with us. Have a good night.